Hi, hi. Hello, hello. And welcome. And welcome. That was not it's hilarious to me anyway. It's fine. Hi, hello, welcome. That third one did me in. So I'm like into this iced coffee. I mean into it as in I'm drinking it, not into it as in like I'm super crazy about it. It's all right. Anyway, happy Vernal Equinox. Happy spring time. Happy Aries season. Happy New Year for the folks that celebrate. For the folks that celebrate around this time, right? I was going to I know I did. I think it may be an OJ. I did my like 4 New Year's I think for this year. And I couldn't remember if I did it like as a personal or if I did it in general. I think I did it as a personal. Either way, I can't find the video. I was gonna pull before and after the significator, but I guess that's not gonna happen. So I don't know what I'm doing today. I have an inkling, I have an idea, and I guess I'll go with it. So I was on a walk not too long ago, just a few days ago in a whole other country. I don't know. For some reason, the marvel of air travel just like really hit me this last time. I'm like, wow, like around the world within a day. You know, how treacherous of a journey was that at some point, and how unfathomable was it for who knows how long before even that. So, what I wanted to do is, for some reason, maybe 2 weeks ago, even longer ago at some point in time, there was a sign. It was something akin to like a keep off of grass sign. And I feel like it was in an area where like there's a lot of kids or something. Cause I was like, what if like I remember thinking like it feels like the sign is directed towards like kids and like what if they can't even read? You know what I mean? And so for some reason when I was walking, I had the thought of because I saw another sign. It may have been like a private party sign or something like that. But anyway, I saw it and it made me think of that. And so I was like, I wonder if I could pull cards around a sign that we may see and not be able to read. Um, one that we can see and read, and one kind of sort of in between where we see it and we can read it, but it may not necessarily be what we think it to be. And as I talk about it, and as I go to pull up the program, because I was going to use the program to get 3 significator cards to pull before and after, but now I'm like, don't necessarily feel like it. So we're not going to do that. Anyway, maybe that'll motivate something in some way. Also, I had a thought. Oh, like, so the last time I was live and I did whatever I did, right? Where like the flowing waters was the detail that I noticed. And then we got the temperance card. And I talked about how, like, the thing about manipulation with the cups. And then in the program or in the Fable Makers, it's like the flowing waters was revealed to be the waters at the foot, not the ones that were being actively manipulated, right? And then the high priestess came out and the detail that I noticed was the moon. And I don't think it was very much like it read into what I read. But afterwards, I was like, in the high priestess card, you see a crescent moon. Because I was going to put the crescent moon, right? You see a crescent moon, but in the moon card in the Fable Makers, you see the entirety of the moon. And again, it was that whole, it feels like the high priestess, or what's represented as the high priestess, we represented as the high priestess. When you add these two things together, you get a wholer, more full picture, or a fuller, more whole picture, not just the crescent moon that you can see, but also inferences from the things that you can't, right? And for some reason, it was just like, oh, like I didn't even sort of like actively catch the imagery of what caught my eye was part of the moon, but what was sort of revealed was the entirety of it. Anyway, it feels like it plays into this energy that's kind of sort of been around, but I haven't necessarily known how to communicate. And it's one that's very like, it was with that like archangel, not archangel, with Samikiel angel of vengeance and Kushiel angel of punishment. And it was the whole like, even the thing with spheres of influence. Well, yeah, that was pretty much the same thing, right? With the sphere of punishment versus the sphere of vengeance, and how vengeance was like the double edged sword that cuts both ways, whereas punishment was more so metered or meted, right? What's that like, mete, when someone metes out justice or punishment or whatever? Anyway, it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's still kind of hard to describe. But the whole flowing waters thing, with it not being as manipulated, but as things sort of like ripple. So I guess that was another thing, right? Because in the first one, with it being the water that was poured between the two cups, and with that emphasis on manipulation, it's like sort of control. But it was revealed as the ripples in the pond, which is more like cause and effect, more like action reaction, or stimulus response, and less of what is curated or intended or whatever. And so I'm still like, I feel like the neurons are connected in my brain when it comes to the thought, but the part of my brain that connects to speech is like there's a misfire. So anyway, I don't know what I'm gonna do today. ICC 9106 is the number today. 91 is the moon and the magician, right? No, yes, yes. Because it's the second nine, 18, and then one, the moon and the magician. So that's so interesting because, again, that plays into like the thing sort of happening or unfolding, but not yet necessarily seen, with the rising SON/SUN. That was the whole like, there are these things that are happening, and as it was kind of a vibe of what's happened, what happens in the dark comes to the light, but not necessarily in a sinister way, just in a way of like, hey, like this is what we've been working on, and now we're ready to reveal it sort of to the world, or we're ready to announce what it is that we've been working on, something like that type energy, right? So the moon and the magician being like this thing that's been coming together in ways and realms that we may not necessarily be consciously aware, but in ways that we can kind of sort of tune into or be sensitive to. And then the 0 and the 6 of the lovers. It's interesting because it's almost like there's the whole moon magician thing that's happening, but then there's also like conscious choice and decision. And the 0 in between is sort of a question mark of, are they going to meet, and how is that meeting going to go? Right? Are our choices and actions going to align with what has been happening, or are they going to diverge? And what is that going to look like? And that could be like any kind of way. Almost. You know what? I'm gonna go for it. I am going to go for. I don't know why this is so blurry. Hello. Like I didn't even blur my background this time, and it blurred everything for me. So hey, whatever. I could focus it, but maybe it's because I'm a little further away too. Hello, this is my face. Oh well. I want to go for the not the Astral Matrix Tarot, although Astral Matrix is what came to mind. I found my wine. I want to go for the Archeo, and I thought it was in here. Oh, I have the good tarot that Rob gave me. Oh, it's right here. I was like, I thought it was in here, but I'm not seeing it. It's right here. Um, what is that song? It's from the Music Man, and it's probably Trouble. The song Trouble from the Music Man, where he's like engineering a problem for I don't even remember the reason why um he was like trying to put the townsfolk in an uproar. Kirsty, hey, how you doing? Right before like I went live, I was like, I wonder if I'll see Kirsty today, and here you are. So hey, how's it going? But anyway, am I gonna pick? You know what? Why not? I meant no. Not why not. I meant no. When I said why not, it's like why not just like let whatever comes out come out. So let's see. We'll start here. And is this going to be? Let's do two of them. I want the. I'm gonna do it as. So I'm gonna give it three. I'm gonna like do a riffle, a few of them. Then I'm gonna give it three shuffles. I'm gonna do the top and the bottom. The top is going to be the card or the energy. The bottom is going to be the tail. And anything that comes out before I get there or anything that flips or falls will be discounted. Awakener. Oh my. I think I actually got this combination a long time ago. I feel like Pluto was doing something at that point. Because I feel like I have this image of like a frozen lake in my mind. And Pluto was doing something. Awakener and Lion are at the cut. And in the Awakener card, there's a sleeping lion. Hey, look, it focused. And I feel like this combination came out one time. And again, I feel like it has something to do with Pluto, but I don't remember. It was literally years ago. And again, that whole like manipulation of circumstances versus like cause and effect. It feels like whatever this noise is, it actually awakens the lion. But the lion actually came out. The lion came out on the other channel. On this channel, because every now and then, very infrequently, I use both, or I use both very infrequently. And sometimes when I do, there'll be like the same sort of style of reading or like the same energy, but it'll kind of unfold differently on each sort of channel or platform. And there was one where like the lion was there. And I think on this channel platform, if I'm recalling correctly, like it wasn't doing much. It was putting us in a position to sort of like handle, take care of, or address something ourselves. But on the other side, it had taken on a whole other sort of like vibe or feeling or whatever. Again, literally years ago. I haven't posted on that channel in a very long time. Um, so I don't remember. Now, Awakener is at the cut with reflection or with reflector. And it's interesting because of those like two aspects of the lion specifically, but also with that lover's Gemini sort of energy. I almost wish I had the what is it? That deck came to mind recently because there's a card in that deck that has an energy that's very similar to the Chariot in the Vice Versa Tarot. I think it's the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. Now the Ten of Wands from the Dreams of Gaia Tarot is coming to my mind. And that, I'm pretty sure when I was in London, maybe 2 years ago, because I didn't have the deck, but the image came to mind. And something about that reflector, and when they like face each other and see each other fully, it causes that like alignment of the chakras. But it's not. Anyway, okay, cool. Oh, there he is. The jester, the trickster, the jester, and the midwife. The midwife is the one that helps deliver the baby, right? And the jester is that energy that was making the noise in the awakener. So again, isn't yeah, the raven and the jester. The falcon, sorry. It's the falcon, not the raven. Anyway, my buddy took the life in the UK test while I was there. And I'm like, according to the test, I'm fairly ready. There are a few things that I knew, um, quite a few that I didn't, obviously, especially when it comes to like dates and like eras, ages, or movements. Because I'm like, well, in the US, like it was not the same years, maybe the same like ballpark, but not the same years. Right when it comes to like the industrial revolution and stuff like that, or just like you know because each sort of nation, people's person goes through their own in their own time, even if they all are precipitated by a certain event that affects multiples, or even if they all sort of happen around the same time. And I feel like for some reason that's like kind of sort of relevant. All right, two more, and then let's go. That was the first. That's the second. I'll give it three. That was one, two, and the third. Nothing came out. Top of the deck is Mobius. Interesting because we just came out of the year of the snake, right? There's this like death energy. So it's the energy of Mobius with the tail of the wolf. This is so interesting. I know the tail of the wolf. What's interesting about this Mobius card is that death has fallen dead. And it feels like death has fallen dead because the Ouroboros energy hasn't actually bitten its own tail. It's like, you want to see me eat my finger? Type of, right? It's like behind, but with a certain vantage point. If you look at it from a two-dimensional perspective, it would appear to be something. If you look at something without depth, it would appear to be a certain type of way. But in reality, since it isn't that way, death has fallen dead. It's almost like I feel like there's a story or a book or a movie or something. Um, yeah, 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 yeah. Um, I feel like now years ago, maybe like 5 or 6 now, which is kind of crazy. There was it was that like Hades Persephone pomegranate type energy, right? Where someone had ended up in an underworld type situation. Someone living had ended up in the underworld. And because they didn't eat the pomegranate, like Hades had no control or sway over their soul, right? Or the energy of Hades. And so there was nothing binding them there, so they were free to go whenever. It's like there's a perception of if this thing happens, then this other thing is a consequence. Kind of sort of again going back to cause and effect, right? And it's like someone is convinced that the cause happened, so the effect must be done, but the cause never happened, right? So it's almost like again with the awakener card and the jester, the whatever that bird thing was making all that noise thinking it was at the top of the mountain, right? But all they did was wake up the lion. And it's almost like again, there's like an assumption that that jester energy is going to be the first one eaten, but it's like they're not actually whatever. It's hard to like give just like a general blanket. Again, I feel like there is something trying to come to my mind as like an example. But like let's say for example, this is a take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it don't resonate, don't take it. My Mercury is in Pisces, my brain operates in metaphor. There we go. I said all the disclaimers. Or enough of them. It's almost like, say, for example, there's someone who is low hanging fruit, someone or people perceive of as like not very financially stable that like ends up in like designer clothes or something, right? And so people look at what they assume is a circumstance and they see the reality of the person wearing designer and then they hear about shoplifting or whatever. And people assume that since this person doesn't look, seem, or appear to be financially stable, yet they're wearing this and this crime happened or the shoplifting happened, that it must be that person. When in reality, maybe that person is friends with Andy, Andrea, the Devil Wears Prada, right? The person is friends with someone who like works at a company where they get to take home samples or something, right? And so there's a totally legitimate whatever. Again, low hanging fruit, not necessarily the best example, but it's because this energy didn't actually bite its own tail. That's why death has fallen dead, because it has no rule, no sway here. Or, for example, right, let's say that I feel like a better low hanging fruit. There's a company similar that people work at, right? And let's say that like a boss is really naive or appears to, yeah, let's say that the boss is really trusting and people take the trust for naivety. And it's like everybody like steals from the cash register or whatever. Like everyone takes a little bit extra. And they're like, oh, well, like the boss is never going to catch on. So, like, it doesn't matter. And there's another person who you, if this resonates, that never steals any money, but in order to like not stir the boat, they pretend like they do, or they say that they do, but they don't actually steal the money, right? So, like, let's say something happens, the boss finds out, and then like the people who steal money end up getting fired, right? And like, let's say it happens in a meeting, right? And the boss is like, everyone here is fired except for this one person. And maybe people are like, but like we were all stealing, like we were all doing it, and that person was also doing it. So maybe there's like, maybe they told, maybe they snitched, maybe they did whatever, and that's why they didn't get fired. Or maybe there's like some kind of whatever going on here, and then they try to build a case and pursue legal action, because if like everybody gets fired, then like everyone should be fired, right? All perpetrators should be punished equally. But within the course of the investigation, it turns out that the person, you, if it resonates or whatever, never stole the money. Death has fallen dead. The underworld has no claim. The person didn't partake of the fruit. That kind of sort of energy. I feel like I'm drinking a lot and talking a lot. um, Here we go. Mobius with the tail of the wolf. The Forgetting Room. What is that? Oh, it's a book by Nick Bantock. Anyway, is this Nick? Yep, that's Nick. The Tale of the Wolf. So I guess I'm gonna read it all, because why not? I feel like speaking today, so why not read, right? Mobius, the attribute. The Mobius teaches us to view time not in relation to our linear mortality, but in terms of a perpetual circular motion. When you are no longer restricted by a sense of impertinence, your plans and decisions can be more deliberate. It was impermanent, sorry. When you are no longer restricted by a sense of impermanence, your plans and decisions can be more deliberate. Persona. Eternity is not best represented by an arrow in flight, but rather by a worm following its own tail. The Mobius is the ending and a beginning, death and rebirth in one. It's the phoenix emerging out of the ashes and the sphinx rising from the desert. With the understanding of the Mobius, we can live without fear, for he comprehends that death is merely a frozen moment, not a conclusion, but a transition from one state to another. If we let go of what was, we can better accept the future. Conversely, if we cling to tired memory, forever gnawing on the bones of a dry carcass, then we inhibit any possibility of moving forward. All things pass, and times that felt dull and ordinary may later become fond recollections. Paradise lost becomes paradise found. The Mobius entreats us not to throw away the present, craving for more this and that, but to bring all your senses to bear in the now, perfect in all that is and isn't. And this is apparently upside down. And I only know that because the illustration in the book is like the tale of the wolf. The forest's looping paths offer no clear points of reference. The disoriented human goes around in circles. The wolf watches. Before long, the befuddled man halts, head in hands, wondering what possessed him to take such a shortcut. When he looks up, the wolf is standing in front of him. As a child, he'd been petrified of fictional wolves. Now, faced with a large, real one, he knows he is about to die. But he's wrong, as he has been about most things, because the wolf, spreading its jaws, gently takes his sleeve and guides him to the forest's edge. And again, it plays into that like death has fallen dead type of energy. And the tale, certain that he was going to die, he does not. Because of the fictional wolves, he has been, I don't know, conditioned to, because of the fictional wolves that led him to make certain assumptions about real wolves. Where do I go from here? See, I want to use the Tarot Apocalypsis, but it's in storage. Just like I want to use the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, and I don't have it. Um, see, what's even. See, this is such an energy of like, I don't take it as it resonates if it resonates, right? If it doesn't resonate, don't take it. It feels like some kind of like great ruse. Or it's the energy of a ruse. I actually want to use the. I flew Iceland Air, and for some reason, on the way back when I was like reading it, it was like ice, land, air, which is earth, air, and water, but it's like solid water. It's not liquid water. So it's almost. I mean, there are a lot of ways where you can get earth and water in states that it's hard to separate, especially without heat. If you bake it, then the water evaporates, right? And then you're left with vaporous water, gaseous water, and solid earth. But then it becomes difficult to separate the water from the air because now you just got water vapor mixing with the air. So I was like, there's no fire. We're coming into the. I saw horses on my way to the airport. From my recollection, this is like the not first, second, or even third time I've flown out of Gatwick. To my recollection, as best as I can recall, this is the first time I've seen horses. And I was like, ooh, you're the fire horse. And then at the airport, my Rider Waite Smith deck flagged the thing, and the is it still TSA lady was like, "Oh, I guess the scanner doesn't like tarot cards," and I was like, "That's actually not the first time it's happened." And she was like, "Oh, do you do it for fun or do you do it for a job?" And I was like, "Interesting." Right? She seemed like legitimately curious, and I was like, "Oh, never had this interaction necessarily." Anyway, it's hard to separate. It's like if you can separate the water from earth, then it puts water in a state that makes it difficult to separate from the air. And it's almost giving me, it is making me think of the, I think it was the last time I used the Water Non Alchemy cards. where we saw the red and white rose, the sap of the moon plant, and the golden rose, like all three of the roses. And there was like blood came out. It was, I think it was the golden rose, blood, and separatio. And the red and white rose, it's like it's difficult to separate the red from the white, but they don't sort of intertwine. So it was almost like you had to separate the red and white and then put in blue from the sap of the moon plant for the red and the white to now combine, but it also combines with the blue. Anyway, because of that, Iceland air, I was gonna do the elemental oracle and I'm gonna grab it now. That's where this whole tangent came from. So, yeah. See, but I feel like that was also the whole like with the double-edged swordedness of everything. It's kind of here again, where it's like this Ouroboros energy isn't actually biting its own tail. It only appears to. And so that's why it's sort of that whole like, don't be hasty or whatever. Because when the time comes, something will fall short. The pomegranate wasn't eaten. So there was no, the pomegranate wasn't eaten, and the soul did not depart the body. So there is nothing that binds whatever to that underworld type energy. And I could look before and after the lower world from the mystical shaman oracle, but I'm not as of yet. I do want a clean flip or clean fall though. Wolf is an interesting energy because they have like Arctic varieties, right? You get like dire wolves, your Arctic wolves, your wolves of the forest, apparently. I did end up watching Sweet Tooth on the flight. On my flight there, I watched the first 7 episodes. On my flight back, I watched the last one. On the way there, I didn't realize until I started and didn't finish the last episode that it was the last episode of the third season. So I'm just watching the show, and there's like flashbacks or there's like calls to things that happened earlier. And I'm like, oh, like this is all information that I guess I'm supposed to just like pick up as I'm watching it. And then I'm like, no. Then I was like, there are 2 other seasons before this that I did not watch. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know. Now I'm in this awkward position of like, do I go back and watch the first 2 seasons since I watched the third? Like, it was a show that I remember people talking about, and I just never watched it. I didn't have Netflix when people were talking about it. And then when I did have Netflix, I forgot. There was nothing else to really watch on the plane. So I was like, oh, I'll watch Sweet Tooth. So anyway, it was good. I wasn't as lost as I could have been. I'm just like, anyway. Why is that coming to mind? I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, because I had the she was reading Rosie question mark was reading some rendition of the Three Little Pigs to her sons. Okay. All right. Ooh. Clean flip or clean fall. That was some shifty noise, but it didn't flip or fall. Clean flip or clean fall, please. 3, 2, 1, and 0 because I do it when I want. Nothing. So I am actually. Oops. What is interesting though, um, I don't know. Excuse me. Because I'm not entirely sure how it fits into this, I won't mention it. I won't dig into it. But the wolf, the tale of the wolf has come out several times. And the energy of the wolf lately is very much like it was that sort of sacred grove in the forest or that oasis in the desert that there are no guides to. No guides towards, only guides out of, right? But with the whole concept of an unbound soul, maybe it doesn't apply. Like maybe there are no guides to that sacred oasis for the dead in the underworld, but since it's a soul that did not depart its body and it's not bound to the underworld, then the guards of the underworld would naturally escort the living to the realm of the living. What is withheld from the dead, right? The Vision Quest and the Hummingbird. Interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen these two together. The Arrow and the Vision Quest. The Arrow is interesting because Mobius mentioned that time is not an arrow, right? It's not linear. And then we see the arrow with the Vision Quest. The arrow with the Vision Quest, it calls to mind an image. It's almost an axis, right? There's like this spiral, but there's an axis that is at like here's the axis, the spiral goes around the axis, but it's almost like whatever sci-fi I'm assuming show movie whatever, it's like it punches through layers of reality. I feel like somebody was explaining like wormholes or a black hole or something like that. And it's like if you were to fold reality, or if you were to fold time and space upon itself and then punch through it to get from one point to the other, like that's kind of like a wormhole or whatever. It's almost like that's the arrow perspective in this non-linear system. And you could almost say it's like it's to be alive, but not trapped in the mortal coil from a certain Buddhist maybe point of view, from a very not official, a very, you know, incorrect, from what I'm assuming is an extremely incorrect Buddhist point of view, right? Because it's like you ascend the mortal coil, you reach nirvana, you don't incarnate anymore. But it's almost like that arrow through the spiral is not being trapped or bound by the mortal coil, but still being incarnate. Right. And again, it sort of plays into that energy of like the unbound soul. I mean, this is an ICC. A lot of times I don't know where they're going until we get wherever and we meander through the gardens and we pick the low hanging fruit when we see them to hope that it gives some kind of context to build whatever off of or to get what we need to go wherever we're going. All right, so mystical shaman is first. The moon came out in reverse. Bottom of the deck is thunder. Well, it came out like that. Kind of doesn't matter. It's interesting. Okay. Grab another cup for me. It's so fun. Like when I first made it to London, I had a headache for like a week. And I think I was going through caffeine withdrawal. And now I'm back on the caffeine. And I think I was going through caffeine withdrawal because one day I had a nice coffee and like my head stopped hurting. I was like, oh, oof. Anyway, I don't need another cup, but it's anyway. We did talk about the moon and the high priestess and how it came out before. She's low key. And again, just like my Buddhist is ungrounded and beyond rusty, so is my Native American. I don't remember which tribe specifically. There may actually be multiple, but it's giving white buffalo calf woman. Can I get an element now? One, two. Oh, we got it. I'll do a third one, just oh, three. Air. It's the horses. Okay. Especially okay. So it was giving white buffalo calf woman. I think David Little Elk might be his YouTube channel name. I watched him talk about the Lakota Sioux Dene. Um, Heyoka. Well, actually, that may have, yeah, Heyoka, Wakinyan, um, Thunderbird. It was actually somebody else, though. I went on a whole little Heyoka, a very mini Heyoka, not even deep dive. YouTube dive. I'll say a YouTube dive. And okay. 1 minute. Today is actually a very special Pisces' birthday, even though it's already Aries season. I did check. I did check. And he is indeed a Pisces on the Pisces cusp of this day. I just didn't want to prolong the birthday festivities. Welcome back. So, oh gosh. Okay. It's low key giving Heyoka or a Heyoka like energy. And channel. I'm pretty sure it wasn't David Little Elk. I think that's his name because I came upon this before that, and it was something about like horses. From what I saw, it was like if a person has a dream about a horse, then they may be a Heyoka. It's not just to have a dream about a horse, but it's something about the horse within the dream. And that's how, um, within the communities and cultures, it's sort of like recognized from one to the other, right? And it's because air was the card that came out, but all the horses are like in the air, just like the buffaloes. The buffalo are in the clouds. And then again, with the woman behind the moon, Swan, Thunderbird, also like white buffalo calf woman, apparently, type energy. This adds an interesting element though, because there's an element to this dynamic where it's not simply a random, or even it's almost like it's neither random nor intentional. It's not a random living soul that accidentally ends up in the underworld. Neither is it that intentionally breaches upon that domain, because bridging the sort of knowledge and information. The first Heyoka was, again, I'm gonna stop qualifying it because it's gonna distract me. I'm gonna lose my train of thought, but at the same time, girl, these are things that I've heard people say, videos I watched on YouTube. Now, as far as I know, they're credible, but also at the same time, what parts are kept sacred and withheld versus the information that is given. Again, crescent moon versus a full moon high priestess type situation. The first Heyoka gazed into like the eye of the Thunderbird, and like it rewired his brain, right? Brain electricity, Thunderbird makes sense. Speaking of the neurons that connect in the thought, but not in the verbal, um, it's like he walked in to the tent, gazed into the eye of the Thunderbird, Thunder being Wakinyon, got rewired, walked out of the tent backwards, and said goodbye to his brothers instead of hello, right? So it's like, it's just like wired different, or it operates differently. At first, it seemed maybe by chance or by intention. The child is here under thunder, the child and the luminous warrior in the lower world. The child is a luminous warrior in the lower world. A being of light and substance, the ghost dance is behind the lower world, and a world of shadows and insubstance. Again, this child that grows into the luminous warrior Heyoka by birth, not by intention and not by circumstance, even though birth kind of is a circumstance, not by accident and not by conscious intention. Again, it's that like Heyoka something, the child is different. It's a luminous warrior, a luminous being in this lower world full of ghosts, the insubstantial, the intangible. That's why it's not bound. And it's interesting that Earth is behind this ghost dance, lower world ghost dance, Earth. Because in this deck, to me, Pachamama is like the living Earth, and Earth is like the planet without the effect of the proliferating force that was imparted at its creation, divine, whatever. not whatever, whatever, disrespectfully or dismissively, but you can call it like Mother Nature or Gaia. Earth is just Earth. Pachamama is like Gaia. So to see the lower world, the ghost dance in Earth, Earth without substance, where it's just dust and dirt and trees, but this child has a luminous connection. And when I saw that, I'm like looking at the child. I go like thunder and the moon was giving like white buffalo calf woman, right? When I pulled thunder to put it on the table, I see the child, and I'm like, the child of white buffalo calf woman? And I was like, wait. And then like, hey Oka, I'm like, okay, girl. Then Eric came out, I'm like, okay, it's luminous, which is also why bound, why death has fallen dead. It's not as it appears to be. And maybe it's some kind of truth revealed through a dream. Um, I don't know. See, and I wonder if that almost, because again, the child is here now. I wonder if that almost plays into that whole thing of like seeing the signs but not being able to read it. It's like to have the dream but not know what it means, or to have the dream, not know what it means, and not have someone there to teach or tell or impart that meaning. It doesn't um, invalidate a truth, but it also doesn't necessarily help someone tend toward recognition realization. It's like it doesn't help realization, but it also doesn't invalidate a truth. I don't know what this is or where we're going. The moon and the magician is 91. I almost want a deck to like ground this now. You know what I mean? I don't have any tarot on the table, but also at the same time, I don't know if I necessarily want tarot on the table. Hmm. Also, the horse is here. I talked about that before I pulled the card, right? How I saw horses on the way to Gatwick, and there's horses in the air. Cool. Number 22, 56, 22, 37, 10, 11, 22. 10 is a completion of a cycle, right? 11 is a master number 11, and then master number 22. There's also something, so to go from 10 to 11, again, this is like numerologically, this is almost again that energy of the arrow punching through multiple layers, or it's the axis on that spiral. And if you follow the axis, it's like if you walk the same number of steps along the axis, you're going to get a lot farther than you would if you walk the spiral, right? Like 10 steps could be half a loop on the spiral, but 10 steps on the axis and you've already left that plane, relatively speaking, right? If the plane is like a million steps, then 10 out of a million is could be fairly insignificant. But regardless, Yeah, that's the 10, 11, 22. And it's like after the cycle of completion, it's like if someone is in between the 10 and 11, they may not even necessarily realize how much things have changed. And it's not until the next step is 22, and then assuming subsequently 33, 44, 55, or 10. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or would it be 10, 11, 22, 44, 88? It doesn't matter. From 10 to 11, it's a single step, but it's a paradigm shift. Okay. Paradigm shifts. She's giving quantum tarot. I'm not. I'm not. I could, but I won't. I feel like that Heyoka energy low key fits perfectly. Also, Heyoka is the sacred clown, right? And with the awakener and the trickster, it's like we already saw that the trickster that was the awakener wasn't the fool that most would perceive it to be. Because usually, when the fool pokes the sleeping dragon or rouses the sleeping beast from their slumber, they get eaten. But not this fool. The trickster was different. I don't even remember what card was at the cut. Was it Reflector? It was Trickster and Reflector. So yeah, she's giving Heyoka Sacred Clown, which brings the Starman Tarot to mind. And I don't have that deck either. That one, I think I sent it to Eve, maybe. I don't remember. Anyway, I feel like that adds a whole layer of complication from perception because then it almost shifts the metaphor from everyone was breaking the rules. Why is one person exempt? And then you find out that that one person wasn't actually breaking the rules. They just pretended to because they didn't want to enforce their moral whatever on other people. And, they just wanted to blend in, but still they weren't going to commit the crime. So the punishment wasn't theirs to bear. But it's like it shifts it from that almost to one of observation. Like someone observes the Heyoka doing something and then they try to do it and it doesn't work. Or it's like sort of within the family of that metaphor. Let's say that somehow, let's call it your classical isekai anime sort of kind of gone wrong, right? There's this special ritual that summons a hero from another world, but somebody else is in the vicinity of the one, and so they end up in this other world too. Um, and so by happenstance, circumstance, or proximity, there are multiple living souls that end up in the lower world, underworld energy. And the child, the buffalo calf, I guess we'll call it the calf. Hey, like Sweet Tooth, anyway. The hybrid child um never eats a pomegranate. Like it may eat other things, but it doesn't eat the pomegranate because with how the cards come out, because of a sort of instinctive knowing or aversion to the pomegranate. Like everything else, all the other foods it partakes of, but it doesn't eat the pomegranate. Whoever is in the vicinity of that Heyoka calf energy sees like the calving stuff, and so they eat everything they're offered, and they eat the pomegranate. When they eat the pomegranate, when they eat the fruit, it binds their soul to that place. And so when the calf leaves and the other goes to leave as well, and they can't because they're bound, they're like, hey, what's going on? Like the calf was also eating. And then they find out, or this like, but the calf never ate the pomegranate because the pomegranate is what binds a living soul to the underworld. Death binds a departed soul. The pomegranate binds the living. The calf isn't dead, didn't die, and never ate the pomegranate, so they're unbound. Again, it just like kind of sort of shifts the narrative a little bit, or it shifts the metaphor a little bit. Always the fool, but never foolish type energy. Anyway, how does this resonate or apply, girl? I don't know. I'm just gonna read it and not worry about it. I feel like there's another deck I should go for, but I don't necessarily know. Mm-hmm. I took a deck from the first drawer and the second drawer. I took two from the second drawer, one from the first drawer. So should I take three from the third drawer and zero from the 0th? I'm not going to take three decks from the third drawer, but the Quantum Tarot is in the third drawer. And I said that's the one I wasn't going to take. Honestly, I may not need anything. Let's ask Siri if T, then we're. I'm just gonna leave it. If H, then we will continue. Oh, this isn't even charging. Oh my gosh, it came unplugged. No. At least my laptop is charging. If my iPad dies, it's fine. Hey Siri, flip a coin, please. It said heads. You got to do it out loud. Hey Siri, flip a coin.
It's heads this time.
Well, heads again. So I am going to pull another deck. But I still don't know. And Aries is the fool. Aries season. Maybe that's our tie. And it's the first, not only is it the first sort of fire sign within the year of the fire horse. Anyway, it's fine. It's like, I really don't know where to go from here in terms of like cards. Also, my brain like isn't really. I feel like the neurons aren't connecting either. Because it's like if I try to think about like what deck I want, my mind just stays blank. I could, you know what? I'm gonna go for the Diceology because of it would be interesting if it's the Jack of Clubs. There is a card in the Diceology that is it's like something like knowledge of the self that is yet to be realized. See, again, I almost want to go to the Tarot Apocalypsis, but I don't have it. See, first it was a Knight of Wands energy. Now it's almost coming out the Knight of Cups, but I think the Knight of Cups. No, the Knight of Cups I think is Eros. I think the King of Cups is Apollo. Um, what deck did I say I was going to go for? Already forgot. The Diceology. Come on. Oh, that's not even the Diceology deck. I thought that was it. That's the Wild Unknown. Here it is. You know what I could do? What I'm going to do is give this 2 more shuffles. And 3 of these. Anything that falls or flips, discount it. Okay. And, oh, okay. 1 sacrificed itself. Okay, well, no, I thought it was 1 card, but it's like 4 of them. The Ace of Spades, the Black Joker, the 2 of Spades, and the 10 of Clubs. Also, the 8 of Spades came out. Interesting that they're all black. Right, no hearts or diamonds, all clubs and spades. So, tapping into the seed of all creation, understanding what predates all things that must remain in the dark, prophetic dreams, inspired action, tapping into the other side, a displacement replaced unintended and unforeseen consequences, a need for wisdom, nearly awakened hidden power, breath that takes the shape of one's truest desires, and a commitment to self, and rearrangement and coagulation. Seeing the truth of the self, distorted creations abound, all sort of to the wayside. Now, what this almost reads like is, you could say in a way, natural defenses. To, you could say it's like ways that the distorts or interferes with divine, spiritual, whatever, and fire, right? So thoughts, logic, and motivation, desire. Interestingly enough, how difficult it was to separate the air from, or the earth from water. Earth and water aren't here. 1 second. All right. I am not delaying any celebrations. It's actually a lot earlier than I thought. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the 22nd for air, 37th for moon, and the 6th and 14th for thunder. There aren't 56 cards. Thunder is number 56. But since it's above the clouds, that's how I'm going to do it. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Clubs, a purifying light, a renewed mind, and a moment of timelessness. I love that moment of timelessness. Because again, moment of timelessness almost, hey, how you doing? Almost giving the energy of the axis on the spiral. Also, the purifying light and renewed mind, the luminous warrior and the child, versus the whole lower world ghost dance earth energy of like ego or logic or whatever getting in the way. That was the clouded vision, right? Eight of spades, distorted creations of balancing, the truth of the self, rearrangement and coagulation. Right. There's clarity here that isn't there. Let's just start here. Okay, so the 22nd card for air is the Nine of Hearts, a blip of light at the heart of a black hole, progenitors in a primordial pool. And we have air. A blip of light at the heart of a black hole is so interesting. The blip of light at the heart of a black hole is the the luminous, right? It's luminous in that lower world of the ghost dance. That's the blip of light. Air is the dream is the indicator, the sign. Cool. So the moon, the 37th card, is the nine of clubs, stripped dare, stripped bare, a game of charades, a day with no mirrors. A day with no mirrors is so interesting to come out with the moon card because the moon is a mirror in it reflecting the sun's light. The day with no mirrors, it's giving me the energy. And we also have the nine of hearts and the nine of clubs, right? Nine of fire, nine of water type energy. It's giving the reflector that we saw at the cut with the trickster that sort of clued us into the fact that the trickster is no fool. It was more of that Heyoka type energy. The hero, no, the siren is at the bottom of the deck. What's at the bottom of this one? Transformation, pressure, number 26. I kind of love it because we see like the red, orange on one side and like the blue is on the other. Again, kind of sort of giving that fire and water, reflector, silver and gold type energy. And this clean that's the axis, that sort of line in the middle. Um, the reflector is interesting because it's like you would think that as one stands face to face with himself, I'm just going to pull the card. The reflector is in between the poet and the magician. Hey, the moon magician. There's the magician. We've seen the moon. The poet and the magician flank the reflector. It's like you would see this and think that there's a mirror here, but it's not a mirror. It's almost like it's not a reflection of the self, it is the self. I feel like there's some weird, warpy sci fi metaphor trying to unfold in my brain that's like low key flipping my stomach a little bit. But it's giving almost like, let's say like with a mirror or with glass, like there's a reflection, right? And so you would think that there is a hard surface, a hard reflective surface, but it's like a veil. It's like instead of it being a mirror, it's the veil between one world, realm, reality, universe, and its parallel. And so it's like if you were to touch it, it would actually sort of like wobble and not be like that hard surface. Somehow it's not a reflection, it is the person. Now, that tends to another deck that I don't have that I wouldn't necessarily pull. In the Mystic Mondays, both Judgment and the Hermit have this sort of double mirror, double glass type energy. There's the nearer and the farther, right? And it's like there are sort of two interfaces. There is the external and internal that's like literally right here, right? There's the you, conscious you, and then the world around you, the environment that you sort of live in. But then it's like if when you go so far inside that you are that you reemerge outside, you could say that's where like the interface between you and the divine source God, the all, would be that internal interface. And then the external interface would be like you and the world around you type energy. Right. You and the world around you would be more of a mirror. That's when like somebody or something is mirroring something back to you, whatever. Not necessarily whatever in a dismissive way, just like in that way. Right. But that second interface, it's like it's reading like this, where it's not a mirror. It's almost like, in a way, it's almost like if we all make the all, it's almost like the external interface would you, it's like being a piece of the puzzle, looking at every other piece of the puzzle around you to approximate your shape, right? Because you know how puzzle pieces fit together. So if you are the puzzle piece and this is one of the sides, because it fits like this, right? This is what you see. You can assume that like you're rounded here. So that's you approximating you based off of the environment around you, which is again like the mirror, which is that moon energy. Which is it's interesting that the moon is the external and the sun is the internal. It's not, but it is, but it isn't. And then the internal interface is like you meeting, coming face to face with like the divine as you type energy, right? And I feel like wholly inaccurate, but maybe hopefully illustrative way on the external reflective surface. again, it's the finding out who you are based upon the world around you. So that could be like the things you like, the things that you don't like, the things you agree with, the things you don't agree with, when you go with the crowd and when you go against the grain, right? Mostly externally illuminated. But see, I had it and then I lost it. Where did it go? Yeah. So that's like consciously making the best of your circumstances type energy is the external reflective. The internal interface, because I don't know what else to call it. It's like if you could look at who you are, but it's like the best version of you, the perfect version of you, right? So it's not you based upon the environment. It's almost like you as you naturally are and or would be if certain environmental factors weren't a thing. So that's like the meeting the divine as you, like seeing that perfect version of you type energy. Okay. The Buffalo, it was number 56, so I took the 14th and the 6th card. The 14th card is the Red Joker, Material Intervention, The Coming of Spring, Mastering the Game of Life. The Coming of Spring, and today is the vernal equinox. And then the 6th card is the Ace of Diamonds, Chain Links, A Divine Codex, An Arrow that Pierces the Heavens and Breaks the Clouds. I love that arrow that pierces the heavens and breaks the clouds. Also, thunder, we see the clouds. Also, with the arrow in this deck, it passes between. I know the one is like yellow. I think the other one is orange. I don't know. Right? In thunder, you see like this. But in the arrow, it's almost like if you line both of those up and it punches right through them. Oh, yeah, there's the little yellow one and the large orange one. But again, it's almost that energy of like you fold multiple upon itself and then you just punch right through. Again, we see the clouds and thunder down here. An arrow that pierces the heavens and breaks the clouds. Cool. Love that. Every element is represented besides swords. You get a wild card. See, again, it's like it's this. It could, I'm taking it to be. I was going to say it could be. It's that Heyoka energy because every element here is represented besides swords. You have the nine of hearts, the ace of diamonds, and the nine of clubs. And then you have a wild card, right? The wild card could be any suit, any number. So here it would be the ace of swords, right? To have 10 red and 10 black, right? You got nine hearts and an ace of diamonds. So to equal it, you would have nine clubs and one spade to get the 919. But this like Heyoka type energy, it's not the black joker that was discarded that came out as a non-factor. It's the red one. The red one takes the place of the black ace. And again, it's like that's like that sort of Heyoka type twist. Because again, you would think not necessarily. The lower hanging fruit would be the black wild card for the missing black suit, but it's actually the red one. And I feel like what's so interesting about this is I know nothing about most anything. Okay. As I feel like, as I hope I have qualified several times already and disclaimed, or a disclaimer anyway, because it's almost giving that whole like, the all is mind, the universe is mental, or whatever, which would almost be the bound perspective. The all is mind, the universe is mental would be like this lower world ghost dance earth bound perspective. But this luminous calf would be able to stand in place. And I think it actually came out. The Ace of Spades was literally the first card that came out. Ace of Spades and the Black Joker. What we would think, quote unquote, the lowest hanging fruit of making up for the missing element, they literally the first two in the second wave of cards that came out to be dismissed. The luminous calf can be that. And again, it's that whole like twisty Heyoka, almost backwards, walks out backwards, says goodbye instead of hello type energy. And the thing about the Divine Codex on that Ace of Diamonds, again, there's something intentional but not intended. There's something of not a matter of destiny or fate. You could say, when is Easter? Is it Sunday? Palm Sunday is in like today's the 20th. So that's in 9 days. Oh. Um, Something about what is needed or necessary because of how things have become. It's almost like you could say things have gotten so bleak or so wound up in the spiral here that the luminous calf was born as a consequence to provide some kind of clarity, to be the arrow that pierces the heavens, parts the clouds, and allows for like daylight to break through as the sun has been obscured. And it's interesting that it's because of the other card, it's worded as intervention, material intervention. Cool. All right. Well, the birthday festivities should be happening soon. And this is pretty much done. Take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it don't resonate, don't take it. And, you know, it's ICC, girl. There is something though, again, with the first and second interface, with the external reflective interface and the internal revealing interface. It's like if you were to, at the first interface, look again, do the whole because this is what the environment is, then my purpose mission is to fill the gap in this way or that way. It would be very this. All of the cards that were discarded. That's how, like, the whole ego that distorts the spiritual or whatever. Because again, if you just follow the pattern, you would think that you need an ace of diamonds to fulfill the sequence. And an ace of diamonds, you can get either, sorry, an ace of spades, because we have the 10 of wands. You would think you need an ace of spades. The ace of spades, again, was the first card that came out. If you can't do an ace of spades, you can do a wild card, and you would do the black wild card because you need the black suit. Again, from the first reflective, using the environment as a primary knowledge gathering slash filter for the intuition discerning sort of factor, you could potentially miss the fact that a wild card is a wild card. And just because this one is red doesn't mean that it can't stand in the place of any other color. So also, it's not to, I didn't even catch that. I was going to say it's not to separate the earth from the water to the point where it becomes inseparable from the air. We have air and water here with motion and the nine of hearts. Interesting. And again, as it resonates for whoever it resonates for, but I guess this does make me wonder or question or just, thank you. What? Did he just pass today? Or is today the anniversary? Because I'm simultaneously like surprised, but also like, did that happen a while ago? Anyway, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Um, I am simultaneously looking forward to and not looking forward to the cake. Also, I didn't even catch this. The jokers are ones. Well, see, one and one, literally 9119 or IXIIIX. Like they're ones. I didn't even see that. Or maybe I saw it, but I didn't consciously process it. Just like these two are one, but not this one. This one. Anyway, take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it doesn't resonate, don't take it. But it's almost like sometimes we'll look at the world around us and through the lens of purpose, we may try to find where we best can serve or where we'll have the most impact or whatever, rather than it truly being. It's almost like it comes from the self, but it's forced into a certain size, shape, or mold, rather than it coming from the self and being allowed to take whatever shape it takes, right? Like, let's say, for example, someone like really cares about people. Let's say someone really cares about people maybe for a long time they were in a profession of service and things happen. There's a great need, and the person goes back into the role that they already did because of both a need for people and because they've already done it and they do it well. So it's like that's the external reflective rather than someone showing up and just sort of being who and what they need in the moment versus who they perceive that others need because the way that they help or serve may be different, right? Let's say that someone was a nurse and dealt with the body before, and that's sort of like their natural inclination because of perception, but they're supposed to be like a mentor or someone like more akin to a therapist where they work on the mental, spiritual well-being rather than the physical. And it's not that you can't find one through the other, but it's like on one hand we sort of force a fit because of what is perceived. And it's of course it's not like wrong or bad or whatever. But that isn't this and this isn't that. All right. Does that answer the question? I feel like we saw it in a way, not really. This is in reverse. The 5 of Hearts, where passion meets determination, going the distance, and a need for discipline, was in reverse. I will find my way. I saw Hercules. That was like last year. I didn't think I would get to see Hercules, but I did. Like every time I go to London, all of the ads for like the West End shows or whatever, like 95% of them and 99% of the ones that I'm interested in are for like in the future. And I get that like you're trying to sell tickets in advance, but I'm not a permanent resident. So I'm seeing all of these shows that like start when I leave. And so I didn't think I would get to see Hercules, but I also didn't know that I would be going back. And I did get to see Hercules. So anyway, sometimes you fear you may miss out, and life has a way of bringing you right back, and sometimes making it better than it would have been. Because honestly, the experience that I did have, I am convinced I enjoyed that more than the one that I thought I wanted to have, or the one I would have had things worked out in a different way. Um, so I'm glad I had the experience that I did have. I am insanely grateful for the experience that I did have. Yeah. So anyway, all right, it's final card time. See, it's like if this were a conversation between you and the divine, this would almost be something like the divine telling you who you were created to be. And it's almost like you were created to be who you are, not who you perceive other people need you to be, which is it's almost like the other side of the coin of the whole, like, what we create for us And in our expression, we don't get to dictate or determine how it's interpreted or what it means to other people. Once we release it to the public, it's for the audience to decide what it means to them. And it will resonate with them however it resonates with them, right? It's almost like the other side of the coin. It's like be who you are, not who you think other people need you to be. Type energy. All right. Ooh, I see the arbiter. The arbiter with the reflector. Okay. And I love how she's like, oh, this isn't the arbiter. This is the angel. The angel in the reflector. And I love that she's like hugging herself because again, it sort of illustrates that this is like someone meeting themselves. It's not a reflection. Type energy. I thought it was the arbiter. It was the angel. All right. So I'm just going to give these a few shuffles, and then I'm going to flip the tops. I'm going to read them, and then I'm going to go. Because, again, I don't know if we're starting yet, but I'm not trying to be the holder. Who was that? I thought I saw the face of a card. The witness and the arrow. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. All right. 1, 2, 3. Final card from the Mystical Shaman Oracle cards is the Medicine Wheel, number 35. And it's interesting because I'm pretty sure that on that Ace of Diamonds, number 35 was the number. Because I looked at it and I was like, oh, was that 37? 35, 7, 9, 7, 2, and 4. 35 right there. The arrow that pierces the heavens and breaks the clouds. Medicine wheel literally has, well, it's a compass, but there's the arrow that pierces the wheel or the circle. And it's 35. Cool. Bottom of the deck is the lower world. Again, it plays into that what was needed. Also, the part of the divine codex, the medicine wheel for the lower world. Cool. Love it. Love it. All right, let's put these. Bottom of the deck was the King of Diamonds, a bell that brings the physical and intangible into harmony as it pulses out into the universe. Collision or cohesion. Collision or cohesion again, playing into that, the 9106, right? 91 was the moon and the magician. And then the O was the meeting point. 6 is the lovers. There's all the stuff that's sort of happening. And then there are the conscious choices and decisions of the self. And when they meet, will they collide or will they merge? Collision or cohesion. Ooh. 1, 2, 3. Final card from the Diceology is the King of Clubs, where feminine and masculine meet, the conception of innocence, nesting, and preparation. I feel like nesting came out last time. Why? Was it the rising sun? It was the rising sun / sun, rising SUN / SON. And it talked about how it's like things further or more distant in time from the birth of something can influence and affect the thing after it's brought into the world. Bottom of the deck is the Eight of Spades. Rearrangement and coagulation, seeing the truth of the self, distorted creations abound. Interesting. I think it's because of the nesting and preparation. So, low hanging fruit, right? It's like the person that there's like they're going to have a baby, right? And before they even, we're going to play into gender norms. Before they even know if it's a boy or girl, they really want a boy. And they want, like, let's say they were an athlete, they want their child to be a boy and an athlete. So they do everything blue and basketball. And then either they have a girl who is athletic or they have a boy who is not athletic, or they have a girl that's not athletic, or they have a boy who is athletic. It's like, but the thing here, because the distorted creations abound with this nesting and preparation, it's almost like, rather than baby proofing the house and getting counseling and therapy before, you try to raise a kid so you can project the least amount possible to give them the healthiest, best environment that you can. It's like, oh, we're gonna like, you know, put all the memorabilia, all of the subconscious propaganda. We're gonna set all that up so as they're growing up, this is what they see, so that it nudges them in the direction that we want. Type energy, right? Rather than the like again, it's the conception of innocence rather than having a neutral space where the child can just develop into who they are without the pressure to follow in someone's footsteps or to be what someone wished they could have been. Type energy. Anyway, it's almost like that's sometimes where we can go wrong. All right, from the elemental oracle cards, final card. One, two, three. Oh, somebody flipped over. Two. We'll get two. Ice and fire. Fury bushfires number 10 and 33. Purity ice. I love the 33. 30. This was actually the card that flipped over. I didn't catch it. It was like right behind the card at the top. So I just flipped the one at the top too. But what I love about this is it almost confirms that 10, 11, 22, 33. Right? Because the first step was 10 to 11, we may not have necessarily caught that the paradigm shifted. But the 22 confirmed that the paradigm shifted. The 33 further validates it. And that's in the purity of this ice rather than the fury of this bushfire of like trying to make something. It's not trying to make some, it's not necessarily trying to make something. It's like forcing something to conform to what we think or believe its next step should be. So, potentially, or we can run the risk of, and again, in the realm of the last metaphor, of trying so hard to curate an environment that subliminally programs a developing mind into leaning a certain way. Again, rather than just like letting them gravitate towards whatever they gravitate towards. It's like that level of control leads to this fury bushfires. Everything goes up in smoke. It goes back to the 10. It's like it completes another cycle to take another individual step rather than taking the steps that it now takes. It went 10, 11, 22. The next step is 33, if not 44. But it's like instead of it going 22:33, the warning of the fury of bushfires is it's like, okay, got to complete another cycle to get to 23, and then complete another cycle to get to 24, complete another cycle to get to 25, complete another cycle to get to 26, where it's like you don't necessarily have to do that. That luminous calf doesn't. And it's not to force, obviously, it's not to force anyone into anything that's not for them. Again, that's sort of the second telling of the metaphor, where it's like other people see the calf, they try to emulate the calf, and then they are confused as to why they're bound when the calf isn't bound. And the calf was like, well, I had the discernment, the intuition, or the foresight to not eat the pomegranate because the pomegranate will bind you. That's why Persephone comes down here, girl. Not the only reason, because she loves her man or whatever. But the pomegranate binds her. So you don't eat the pomegranate if you don't want to stay. Hello? And if you love pomegranate that much, just wait till you get back on the surface and then eat pomegranate up there where it's not going to bind you. Anyway, bottom of the deck is Solitariness Desert number 13. She's almost giving death falling short. Right. And Mobius, death had fallen dead. Death falls dead at the 33. Oh, look, it's a white horse. That's like the pale horse of death with no rider because death has fallen dead. Wow. Unless, you're in that bushfire energy. Cool. Take it as it resonates if it resonates. And if it don't resonate, don't take it. Last but not least, the Archeo archetypes. And like low hanging fruit, right? This could be as we go into this next astrological year, as we go into the spring after the winter. You aren't who you used to be. You don't have to navigate life the way you used to, and you don't have to bind yourself to operate in the same ways or to fall to the same circumstances. Right? You can leap over that. You don't have to go through this whole cycle again to prove that you've learned the lesson that you've already learned. When you can just, it's almost like your actions can be the proof that you've learned whatever. You don't have to put on all of the weight, sort of like 10 of Wands. And we actually did see the 10 of Clubs, right? I think. Yeah, it was the 10 of Clubs and not the 10 of Spades, I'm pretty sure. Like you don't have to put on all that weight to carry that you can prove it. Did I say to carry that you can prove it? You don't have to put on all that weight to prove that you can carry it. Right? You can just like do whatever. Now the arbiter is at the cut. The arbiter is at the cut with grace. All right. 3, 2, 1. Did something flip over? No. I think it was a shadow. Yeah, it's a shadow. The shadows are making me think it's like that. When I see the shadow, it's like, wait, is that the face of a card? It's like, no, it's just the shadow one before it. All right, final card here is it the Jester? No, it's the Trickster. Bottom of the deck is the Fatalist. We're just gonna real quick. I'm gonna do it like I did the first one. Where's the book? I'll just read the thing on the top. So we can go. The attribute of the trickster with the tail of the fatalist. How about that? EFG. The trickster is close by when the trickster is close by whether you like it or not. He knows about your propensity for self delusion and refuses point. Let me slow down long enough to try to be coherent. The trickster is close by, whether you like it or not. He knows about your propensity for self delusion and refuses point blank to let you indulge self aggrandizement. If you are heading in the wrong direction, he will tie your shoelaces together, and if you become arrogant, he'll show you your absurdity. He is a thorn in your flesh, an utter nuisance, and he is essential to your well being. She tossed the three yellowing dice into the mincer, and begging heaven's indulgence, began to crank the old machine's wooden handle. At first there was resistance, then the bones began to splinter and crack under the pressure of the rotating screw. From the mincer's mouth, particles of dye were tossed onto a carefully positioned china mortar. Taking the pestle, she ground the fragments to a powder. Then, adding a little water, she used the paste to fill in the cracks in his life. Having removed chance from the equation, she now felt confident that things would begin to improve. The tale of the fatalist removes chance from an equation, and the trickster doesn't allow one to either delude themselves or aggrandize themselves either. He knows about your propensity for self delusion and refuses point blank to let you indulge self aggrandizement. If you're heading in the wrong direction, he will tie your shoelaces together. If you become arrogant, he will show you your absurdity. Not only is chance being removed from the equation, but aspects of the randomness of chance are being used to like glue someone's life back together. Uh, it reads as very heavy handed. Anyway, I hope you all have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, where you find. And until next time, keep on keeping on. Happy Aries season. Happy spring. Happy new astrological year. Happy new energetic year. Um, happy spring or autumn if you're in the southern hemisphere. And yeah, I will catch y'all next time. Bye bye.